Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. This is your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions on diet, training, supplementation, IFBB pros, competitions, the Pittsburgh Pro, around the horizon, the New York Pro in, say, about 3 weeks, as we now bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, a lot going on right now. First, address the deal going on right now at speciesnutrition.com featuring Amino Evolved.
Yeah, a lot of people have asked me for many years to make an amino acid drink. I always kind of balked at it only because I said, you know what, I got to make something that's better than something that's out there already. Otherwise, I'm just another Me Too product. So a couple of the issues I had, number one was where the amino acids came from. I always was kind of like almost grossed out a little bit by the fact that I found out that amino acid, formulations are made from human hair. I've talked about this before. They go to the barbershops in China and they get the human hair. So when I found out that they could actually, create amino acids using bacteria to express them, almost the same way they make growth hormone, I said, this is a great technology, So the fermentation process really raised the amino acid game up quite a bit in terms of quality of amino acids. Also, I needed to find a good flavoring guy who can flavor amino acids and make them not taste like battery acid. And I found that also. And obviously I wanted to not just put a branch chain amino acid product together, which is only 3 amino acids. I wanted to put all the essential amino acids plus a few extras in there. Obviously make it high in branch chains, but have a complementary amount of other amino acids there to help assist in all the reactions that go on. Now the advantage of branch chains over like whole proteins obviously is they're instantly kind of absorbed because they don't need to be digested. It's something easy that people could take in. A lot of people like to use them. I have my clients use them intra-workout during the off season mostly. Some of the guys who are crazy metabolism guys, they can use it during their contest prep, but most people I usually save it for off season. Also off season, it's nice. It's a nice thing to just sip down if you want to get some extra protein in. Guys, especially girls who have very fast metabolisms, who the food they're eating is just not enough for them to gain weight. It's a good way to just, like I said, it's almost like you're drinking water, and it goes in real easy. Once again, it tastes really good, and it's an efficient way to really pump up the nitrogen balance in your body. We're running a really cool sale on speciesnutrition.com right now. It's over $10 off on the retail price, $24.99 for this tub of Amino Evolved. I just mixed myself up. When I usually drink this during the show, I don't even tell people, but I mix it up. This is our blue raspberry. Just looking at it, it tastes good. It looks like it tastes good, and it really does. Like I said, there's really no aftertaste. It's absolutely delicious. You can mix it in a big gallon of water. You can mix it in a shot glass. And once again, it's real easy to get a nice high dose of these essential amino acids. Milo Sharshev would love it because he'd have his clients doing it 18 times a day. Like I said, 1 time a day is optimal probably. If you want to do it intra-workout, you want to do it right before you train to get a little bit of extra branch chains and essential aminos into your bloodstream pretty quickly. But you could, like I said, you can use it before bed. A lot of guys use it right in the middle of the night. They wake up, they have it by their bed, it's all mixed, they gulp it down after they go take a pee at the toilet, and they're good to go. Once again, the key is keeping high level of nitrogen balance in your bloodstream, and this is something that can easily be incorporated. So guys, head over to speciesnutrition.com. Once we sell out of them, that's it. So $24.99, special sale just for you guys at Ask Dave.
So again, that exclusive deal at speciesnutrition.com. A lot going on right now at RxMuscle.com. We just completed doing interviews with Steve Lorius, who's taking the stage at the Pittsburgh Pro. Jordan Peters, that's going to be airing on Friday. A lot of interesting topics regarding training and different training philosophies. And Boston Lloyd talking about fatherhood. Fatherhood and something else that I'm not going to address because we are on YouTube. It is a hilarious interview. Dave, just give a little primer. Boston Lloyd on fatherhood, that airing tomorrow at RxMuscle.com.
Yeah, I wanted to get him on because Boston will talk about anything, and I want, his wife and him just had a child, about 10 days ago, and the child is finally going home because it was in the NICU for a little bit. And I wanted to just find out what his mental state is now that he's a father, if he's changed his thinking, and of course he hasn't. And then I don't know how it got mushroomed into Boston's childhood and all the crazy things that he did as a kid, but it became a very interesting, put it this way, Tyler, the creator, was laughing so hard that I couldn't actually hear Boston speaking, because that's how funny the thing was.
It's true.
And another good thing, the Jordan Peters interview that we did, a lot of people have been asking for Jordan Peters. He's a big trainer in the UK. And I got him on, and Jordan Peters, the name and his face, for some reason I get this deja vu feeling whenever I hear that, or I go watch his stuff. And it was funny, but I didn't realize this, but over 10 years ago I actually helped him for his first show. I was his coach and did his diet. That's how long it was, probably over 10 years ago. He was 150 pounds. He's 100 pounds heavier now, muscle-wise. And he reminded me of that, and I was like, holy mackerel. And once he brought it up, it all clicked, and I remembered that, oh yeah, I did help him. That's where I know him from. So it was a good interview. I think people are going to really appreciate it and like it. I think he's got some good insights, and him and I see eye to eye on a lot of the training methodologies that he employs.
Let's get to the questions first. We take 2 questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Dave, you want to give a little primer for those not aware of your app? Yeah,
it's my app. I was actually talking about it with Jordan Peters too. It's one-stop shopping basically for everything Dave Palumbo. All the articles I've ever written, all my videos I've ever done, all in one place. It's like a library of all my information. Plus, we have workouts. You could put your diet in there, and it'll spit out all your macros. We have workout programs. I have all my detoxification protocols in there. I have every little protocol I've ever put in there. Plus, I answer everyone's questions. So if you're an app member, you can submit questions. I answer them on a daily basis. And then the best ones I take, and I actually do a video exclusively for the app. No one else gets to see that, only the app members. It's on the app every week. It gets uploaded. So it's a great resource of information. And if you want to sign up for the app, you go to the iTunes store, or you go to the Android store, and you can download the Dave Palumbo Experience.
Zach wants to know your thoughts on Primo tabs versus Primo injections, and what's the max daily dosing in tabs that you suggest?
It's a good question. The Primo acetate tabs, okay, which is what they are, they're also called Primo S tabs. They're awesome because women or men can take them. And the reason why women can take them is because they only last in your system like 3 to 4 hours because of the acetate in there. So, a woman could take, 20 milligrams, 25 milligrams, a day, and not really have to worry because her body's not being exposed for long periods of time to this drug. Now, in men, you'd have to take, a couple pills a day. Back in the day, we would take 25 milligrams, like 3 times a day or something like that. Sometimes we'd crack them in half and we take it, half a pill 6 times a day. But you get a nice anabolic boost from it. Now, probably more convenient would be the Primobolan injectable, which is a longer acting Primobolan. Men can take anywhere from 300 to 600 milligrams a week of that. Women probably could take like 25 to 50 milligrams of that. The problem with the injectable Primobolan is that 90% of it out there, maybe more, is fake. It's usually test propionate or something along those lines, a cheaper drug. And the reason I know this is because the roid test kits that we sell at DavePalumbo.com, which enable you to test your steroids, almost every single time someone tests Primobolan, it comes back as test propionate, and that's how I know this. So beware of that. If you have access to Primo acetate tabs, I don't think I've ever seen them faked. So that's a pretty good drug, like I said, to do. It's pretty safe, and like I said, it has 0 liver toxicity. So.
Jorge, how would you set up the off time for cycling if a guy does the same show every year? I do nationals each year and wanted to know when I should be off and when I should start gear for the show.
Well, that makes it easy. If you're really a serious and an elite level competitor, you probably should, after the show, clean out, do your 10-week clean out, your PCT and 10-week clean out, and then go back on. You do your off season up until about 16 to 18 weeks out from your show, and then you go on your pre-contest drug cycle, do your show, and then once again, repeat the cycle, go off for 10 weeks. I think that's adequate. That'll give you almost about 3 months on every year, 9 months on, 3 months off. And I think that's adequate. A lot of, rather than breaking it up, 4 months on, a month and a half off, and then, 4 months on and a month and a half off. I'd rather see you go continuously through so you get good continuity and you're not losing the gains that you made from your off season when you go into the pre-contest, by going off in between. Just make sure you clean out adequately after the show to get rid of all the toxicity, allow your receptors to resensitize themselves.
Let's go to Be Fit. Dave, tips on how to utilize post-contest rebound for best gains with low water retention.
You know, the best way to rebound after a show, believe it or not, is to go off the drugs. And that sounds ridiculous, but think about it. You go off the drugs, you do your PCT, your HCG and Clomid. During this time, because you're off the drugs, you're going to start dropping all that subcutaneous water because that you're holding from taking all those shots. But yet, the drugs that you took for the last, 18 weeks, 20 weeks, are all still in your system. Those drugs don't disappear. They take weeks and weeks. You'll probably have stuff in your system for anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. So you are rebounding off the show, plus you're on HCG and Clomid. So you're getting a good rebound, but at the same time, you're cleaning yourself out. So by the time 8-week mark comes around, you pretty much got nothing left in your system. Your body your receptors now are resensitizing themselves. You'll probably stay off another 2 or 3 weeks after that of nothing. You'll be really low. By the time you're ready to go back on, then you really haven't lost much, assuming you were training good, you were eating right, and your body has been detoxed. I think a big mistake guys make is after a show, they continue pounding the drugs at a very high dosage. Then at some point they got to go off. But at that point, it's like, well, when am I going to go off? I don't want to go off now because now it's like the time I should be growing. So once again, rebound while you're coming off. Then as you get to that point where everything's kind of out of your system, you kind of cut back your training a little bit so you don't get hurt. Get through those next 3 to 4 weeks, and then go back on and start the process again.
We do get questions on Digestive pretty often. I'm not sure when's the last time we got one. Christian Tyler Edwards, what would you consider the best Digestive protocol? Time to cut water, how much water to drink when taking Digestive pre-show?
I'm not going to go into my whole, last week of prep and dehydration and stuff like that, because that's something that you guys could, you can hire me to do, or you can check it on the app. And once again, it's hard to give a generalized statement without having a lot of data of what you look like, what you're taking, But by and far, my protocol is keep everything the same up until the last day before the show. Cut sodium that morning, completely out. Then that night, when you stop drinking, like around 8:30 at night, I'll give one more meal that has sodium in it. Sometimes it's a burger and fries meal if the person's flat. Sometimes it's just a clean meal. But I usually put sodium back in, and then the next day, I'm allowing people to eat as much sodium as they want the day of the show because they're not drinking anything. Usually, I'll do a half a Digestive on the day before the show around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, another half a Digestive usually at around 9 p.m. And usually most people don't need more than that. Some people do, some people need less than that. Once again, it's on an individual by individual basis.
Brad Rogers, Dave, I got a question. I'm currently on my off cycle. I would like to drop a few more pounds. I was thinking of using some Clen to help me with the weight loss, but I'm going to start a new cycle in the next 4 weeks. Should I just wait until I start my new cycle or go ahead and start the Clen? My new cycle will contain Test 250, 500 mg a week, Masteron 600 mg a week, and Winstrol 80 mg a week. Your thoughts?
The truth of the matter is that clenbuterol doesn't really work synergistically with anabolic steroids, so it doesn't matter if you're taking steroids or not. Clenbuterol will still burn fat at very efficient rates. So if you want to start losing weight now and you want to get going, you could start the Clen, or you might want to just start dieting with your, cutting your food down, getting rid of, lowering your carbohydrates or whatever you're doing to diet, and then wait till the cycle starts and start the Clen. It doesn't matter. Either way, it's going to work well. If you want to really speed the process up, then start the Clen now.
JT Major, do you believe in the whole carbs, fiber for net carbs? If I eat 200 grams carbs, 50 grams fiber, did I really just eat 150 grams carbs?
Yes. The answer to that question is yes. You always subtract off the fiber, and that's your net carbs, and that's what you're really going to be able to absorb. Because fiber is by definition, it's a carbohydrate, but it's an unabsorbable carbohydrate. That's why when sometimes I'll get questions, people look at my fiber container of Fiberlize, and they're like, there's 9 grams of carbs in there per serving. I said, yeah, it's 9 grams of fiber, 0 net carbs. You don't absorb anything.
Tommy1666, Dave, big fan, natural male weightlifter, considering starting a moderate cycle of Anabar for 6 to 8 weeks just to keep strength and help lose a little body fat. Question, would a full PCT be necessary, or would Testalize suffice?
Yeah, I mean, anything like Winstrol or Anavar or even Primo tabs, you're not suppressing your body's natural production, you know, probably not at all. So those drugs, when you stop them, you really don't need to take much of anything. But what I would take is I would take something like Testalize, because what does happen is the balance of your testosterone, estrogen, and DHT could be a little out of whack. Because here you have a hormone there, you're pulling it out, even though it hasn't suppressed testosterone production, it might change the way testosterone is converted in the body, either to estrogen, DHT, or both. So Testalize balances that off. So a lot of guys, even while they're taking like an Anavar or Winstrol cycle, will take Testalize to keep everything kind of in the right ratios. So yeah, that's what I would do. There's no reason to do HCG or Clomid though.
Matt Akinci, Los Angeles. Of course, last week we had Dorian Yates for part 3 and part 4 of a 4-part live with interview series. Dave, what do you think about Dorian Yates' thoughts on life after Mr. Olympia journey? Because once he said that he quit leg training because he doesn't need them to be big anymore. Should all bodybuilders stop training heavy after competition life? Your thoughts?
I think it's a personal decision, you know, what you like to do. I mean, if you love to train and you love to train heavy, why would you stop it just because you're not going on stage anymore? If you really don't like training or really not that important to you, then there's no reason to be trying to set records in the gym. I don't train my legs. I love squatting, and I don't squat because I have a torn quad which won't heal. You know, I've had 3 surgeries on it, and I just at this point, until I can have another surgery on it, I don't want to even deal with it completely tearing off the bone. You know, so I'm very cautious in the way I train. Now Dorian had some injuries too, so he might be a little more cautious as well. Whereas another person might have no injuries, and they may just love to train, so go train. So it's really a personal decision, I think.
Not sure if we had something similar to this last week. Correct me or stop me if we did. Muscle Machine on pre-contest. When is it good to do the last leg training? Also, when do you stop tanning?
Last training of the legs is usually 7 days before. So if you have a Saturday show, the Saturday or Sunday before would be your last leg training. As far as tanning goes, you know, I used to tan up till, if I had a Saturday morning prejudging, I would tan up to Thursday morning really early. You probably don't need to go that far. I just liked it. It was kind of relaxing for me. Probably Wednesday's enough, you know, because you're going to be, now with the spray tanning, the tans are so good. Back when I was competing, you had to paint Pro Tan on. It was a nightmare. It was like this 2-day saga. Now it's just, you stand in a tanning, you know, in a little tent, and they spray you for 10 minutes and you're done. So you could probably stop it on Wednesday. Obviously, you don't want to tan on Friday for certain, because that's going to bring water to the skin. It causes a histamine reaction. So, you know, probably Wednesday, you know, night would be the last, you know, tan you probably should do at this point in time, especially if you're going to get spray tan.
Top tier shreds. How do you go about giving cheat meals to your clients in the off season when the person is on moderate doses of AAS but no GH? Is once a week okay? I used to do once a month in off season and once a week in prep, but want to try something new.
I always give a cheat meal once a week. It's something to look forward to, even in the off season. Now, some guys have such fast metabolisms that I have to give them 2 cheat meals a week. I have them do a Wednesday and a Saturday cheat meal. And then there are other guys that I work with in the off season that eat a cheat meal every day. So, and I don't know, it wouldn't be maybe a full-blown one, but I would give them like, you know, 2 double quarter pounders and fries, you know, from McDonald's every single day, because they just, metabolism is so fast, I can't get them to gain weight. That was my secret. That's how I used to gain weight. So, but most people are not like that. Most people do the once a week cheat meal.
Lee Axon, in the UK, it's been suggested that the guys in the Middle East use EQ and another anabolic as a stack rather than test and an anabolic. This is to avoid aromatizing and maintaining better condition. What are your thoughts?
It's bullshit, because, you know, Equipoise and DECA, they all aromatize too. So especially when you're taking high dosage of it. And if you're not going to be taking testosterone, you're going to be doing high dosages of anabolics, and they all aromatize. And the way you know that is you can go get your testosterone level checked when you're on those drugs. It's like 0 in your body, because your body shuts itself down and when those drugs are in there. And because you're not taking testosterone, you're not going to register a high serum testosterone level. So we know that they suppress. So to me, once again, everyone's always trying to rediscover the wheel. The bottom line, the formula that builds muscle is testosterone and an anabolic. I like to take about 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams a week of testosterone, and I like to combine it with about 300 to 600 milligrams of an anabolic per week. 2 compounds, switching the anabolic every 6 to 8 weeks. That's the formula that we know has worked, tried and true. You can do a million different other things and think that it's better, but I'm telling you, I've tried it all. Testosterone should be your base muscle builder drug.
Matt Gerard, what did your morning carb up before prejudging consist of? Did you do the typical rice cakes and peanut butter, or would you favor something else?
I always, my whole competitive career, did pancakes and eggs. The morning I woke up, that would be actually usually when I was at my house, I would usually have maybe like a little chicken and some rice, right when I got up. Let's say it was 6 a.m. in the morning of the show. And then I would get my act together and get cleaned up and ready to go, and I would drive to the venue wherever it was. If it was local, I would drive. Obviously, if I was in Vegas or someplace else competing, I might have to rent a car or whatever. And usually I would go and I would get maybe the Waffle House or something like that, or the diner if it was in New York, and I would order pancakes and eggs, and I would eat those. No drinking. I would maybe sip a quarter of a cup of coffee or something like that. That was my breakfast. Usually after that, I had either another egg meal with some rice or some chicken and some rice. And then usually I went to rice cakes and all natural peanut butter, just smearing it on there and having it every 20, 30 minutes just to keep my blood sugar level stable. And that's what I would do prior to prejudging. After prejudging, I always, and I still do it to this day with all my clients, I do a burger and fries.
Michael Grabner, can you drink too much water during prep? I drink about 2.5 gallons a day.
I think you can. I think if you drink too much water, you start watering down your electrolytes. And then what happens is your body starts flushing so much sodium out that you don't have enough sodium and you start cramping. And it throws that balance of the sodium and potassium off in the body. And sometimes your muscles can look softer. So don't overdrink. I've talked to numerous nephrologists over the years. My uncle was a nephrologist too, kidney specialist. And the worst thing people do for your kidneys is overdrink, because it makes them have to work harder. They're always filtering. So your body is a very good indicator of when you need to drink. If you feel thirsty, you drink. You don't have to be guzzling water all day long. It's not going to help you burn fat any better.
Dave DeCoke, is it possible to grow in ketosis? I bloat badly on high carbs and feel much better while in keto. Do you think I can grow as long as I'm in a caloric surplus?
Some people put size on a ketogenic diet. Other people have a little bit more trouble because they can't, what happens is your body starts turning all the protein you're eating into carbohydrates, especially if you have a fast metabolism. And then you don't have enough protein to build and repair muscle. You got to remember, your body needs a fuel source. And remember, in the gym, it can't use fats as a fuel source. It needs something that's going to give it, quick energy. And that comes from glycolysis, which is the, digestion and assimilation and the turning of carbohydrates into ATP. So your body, for fast explosive movements, like weight training, like high intensity cardio, requires glucose. If you're not giving your body any glucose, your body's going to take amino acids and turn it into glucose. And that's going to take away from the protein component of what you're eating. So once again, a protein fat diet, you can build muscle on it, but not a ton of muscle. It's going to be harder.
Chan Lodi, if you have a phobia of needles, what oral cycles and protocols would you do? Example, the old D-ball on-off for 6 weeks.
If you're going to take steroids, you better get over your phobia of injecting needles into yourself, because let me tell you something, you're going to have to do a lot of that, okay? No one takes one steroid cycle. People are going to take them for years. You can't be on orals all the time. They're too toxic to the body. Your levels will fluctuate all day long. You're not going to get good sustained gains from it. Break down, let someone give you the first needle, the first shot, and watch them do it. Once you do it a couple times, it's not going to be a big deal. If this is something you're serious about doing and you're going to do it, you got to do injectables.
D. Mordzel, Dave, what's a good fat source to add to your protein shake if you're allergic to peanut butter?
Macadamia nut oil is good. We make one at speciesnutrition.com. Almond butter, cashew butter. These are all terrific examples of ideas you can employ. I'll tell you something. I never realized how good cashew butter was, and there's only one company that makes it. There's a company that makes a raw cashew butter. It's so freaking good that you want to eat the whole jar. It's expensive, way more expensive than the almond butter and the peanut butter is, but it's another good thing you can kind of add in for variation. I used to like to do that a lot. You know, you mix that with the vanilla peanut butter isolized or caramel macchiato. Oh my God, it's unbelievable.
The Ryan Bigford, can you go more in depth about the effects of finasteride DHT inhibiting properties and building muscle?
Testosterone builds muscle. DHT doesn't build muscle. So your testosterone levels are the most important component of muscle building. Now, we do know that some DHT is necessary for androgen sensitization, just like some estrogen is necessary, which most people wouldn't think, for androgen sensitization. But it's the testosterone that's actually binding to the receptors, the nuclear receptors on the muscle cells, and increasing protein synthesis. So it's not the DHT. So taking finasteride and lowering your DHT into the normal low range, remember I said normal low, okay, is going to be what you want to do. And if you can get it in there, it's going to prevent the side effects you can get from DHT, like hair loss, prostate enlargement, acne, and you're still going to get the same muscle building effects as if you weren't taking it at all. If you lower it below that normal range, now you might have some problems with muscle growth, you might have some problems with getting an erection, you might have some problems with sex drive, so we don't want that.
You're watching Ask Dave on RxMuscle.com. Reminder, tonight we're going to be dropping our Live with Steve Lauria's episode. Steve is a few days out from the Pittsburgh Pro, one of the rising stars in the classic physique division. Steve Lauria, you're going to see him tonight on Live With. Tomorrow we have Iron Rage, Lee Priest makes his return along with Boston Lloyd. And then on Friday, we have Jordan Peters. Every week we like to feature a species nutrition retailer. This week, we're featuring a gym that literally is named Species Gym. They're located in Katy, Texas. I believe Tyler is showing the graphics on the screen right now. Dave, this is one of the coolest places that we have seen. Their wall murals, one of them has you on it. The other has Jay Cutler. It's an entirely species nutrition themed gym in Katy, Texas.
Yeah, you know, my good friend
For
Kyle,
a wounded man shall say to his assailant, if I live, I will kill you. If I die, you are forgiven.
Gracious.
Such is the
come
rule
to me and ask me, hey,
of
look,
honor.
I want to do a species gym. I want to have species. I want to sell product exclusively in there. I believe in it. I love the high-end aspect of it. I said, look, you're going to use the name. It's got to be a high-end gym. It can't be one of these Planet Fitness because it's just not going to cut it. And they did it such a great job over there. I'm so proud of him. I know a lot of people train at that gym in the Texas area. I know Candace Lewis trains there. And every single person who's gone to that gym has called me up. Because a lot of people think it's my gym because it's the species name and I have to tell them it's not. But every person calls me and tells me, Dave, that gym is awesome. They got freaking great equipment in there. And I'm like, that's what I want to hear. One of these days I'm going to make it out there. I know Kyle's been trying to get me to come out there for, I can't even tell you how long. We want to hold a Bros vs. Bros there. We want to hold a training seminar there. I told him we got to get through this year because, you know, he's had a baby, but we will get out there. Once again, if you're in that area, you got to check it out. It's awesome. And if you want to pick up species supplements, they got them there at great prices.
Also at speciesnutrition.com, that Amino Evolve that Dave has in front of him right now, $24.99 from now through Sunday night. No further discounts, $24.99, $10 off Amino Evolve at speciesnutrition.com. Let's go to Brooks Clark. Dave, when you were a competitive bodybuilder, what was your strategy for shaving? Did you get laser hair removal or just use an old school razor a couple of times a week? I'm actually going to sandwich another question fairly similar from Dan the Upman. Or is it not? It's about beards and whether or not beards affect placings, and the specifically list Guy Cisternino. So first the shaving one, second if you feel as if beards are a good thing or a bad thing on stage.
I shaved with a razor. I tried waxing once. I broke out all over the place. I didn't like it. It hurts. It irritated my skin. I tried Nair. My body was immune to it. I didn't lose any hair from it. And I tried laser hair removal because my sister worked at a laser hair removal clinic, and I had free treatments, and it was like my hair just was like laughing at the laser. Nothing fell off from the laser hair removal treatment. So I just found shaving to be the best because shaving exfoliates the skin too. So I found that I broke out less, my skin looked better. So I stuck with that my entire career. As far as beards go, I know some guys, that's the cool thing to do now. Everyone's into beards, but you know what? On stage, it just ruins symmetry. It just distracts you. You start looking at the person's face instead of their body. I just don't like it. If you're going to compete, shave the beard, shave the mustache, if you have very tight facial hair, that's okay. But even that, I like a clean shaven look. I think it really, it just comes off as more pure on stage. And that's the best way I can say it. And you got to remember, judges are judging subjectively, okay? They just judge what they see. If they don't like the way, if something's bothering them or irritating them and it looks like it's messing up someone's symmetry, they're not going to vote for that person. I don't care what they say. That's just natural. So why risk screwing up all the hard work you did because you want to have a fucking cool beard? Grow it back after the show's over.
Mike the Golden Rio, besides thyroid hormones, what are the science behind the different other factors that affect metabolism?
I'm not sure of the question, Sid.
Besides thyroid hormones,
right.
That's exactly how I spelled it out. What is the science behind the other, so other than thyroid hormones, what are the other deciding factors that affect metabolism? Well, wants a scientific perspective.
Thyroid hormone is the hormone that regulates metabolic rate. So that's the most important. T4 is released, or thyroxine is released from the thyroid gland. It's an inactive form of thyroid. It gets converted to an active form known as T3 or triiodothyronine. Those levels will dictate what the metabolic rate is. Now, there are some hormones that have interactions with metabolic rate. Obviously, growth hormone and insulin. When your insulin was higher, you tend to store fat more. When GH is higher and insulin was lower, you tend to burn more fat. DHEA, which is an adrenal androgen, has an influence on the metabolism as well. And they've shown that if you take supplemental DHEA, especially if you're over the age of 35, you'll notice that your metabolic rate will improve slightly. And some people will note fat burning effects from DHEA, especially if you were low and you're replacing levels that were low. But by and far, thyroid is the main hormone that controls metabolism.
Dan the Upman, in your research, have you found there to be an ideal ratio of carbs to proteins post-workout?
I like, you could almost do even amounts, really, if you really wanted to. I usually do about 50 to 60 grams of protein in my clients with about 40 grams of carbs. That just seems to be perfect. But in people that are not as big, I might stick with the same carb content and I might lower the protein a little. So you can probably do 40 protein, 40 carbs and probably be fine. Remember, carbs don't build muscle. They're just restoring glycogen. And remember, protein is just going towards muscle repair and turning on the protein building machinery. So once again, I kind of tighter it for depending on what the person weighs. In women, I might do 25 grams of 25 grams of whey protein and maybe 20 grams of carbs. So it's pretty close to a 1-to-1 ratio.
Ian Slate, if Dave could relive his competitive years in today's bodybuilding, does he think he'd place better with his size and conditioning? Obviously, he means a younger Dave before the shoulder issues and you falling in India.
Yeah, I think I would probably easily be a pro nowadays, especially since they give so many pro cards out, two per class at nationals. I would have easily gotten that. And I think when I was competing, I think the competition was better, especially in the heavier weight classes. So I think I probably would have won my class. I don't know if I would have won an overall, but I would have won my class probably at nationals or USA or North American or something like that and gotten a pro card. I'm pretty sure of it nowadays because like I said, it's just easier because there's more opportunities. There were very few pro cards given every year back in the 90s and early 2000s. Only up until recently have they increased that ability. And I think that's a good idea. I think there's no reason why guys that are, were like me, who maybe didn't have the best structure or maybe, just kept missing, didn't have pro cards. Dean Caputo should have been a pro. Matt Mendenhall should have been a pro. Had there been the same system around back then that there is today, all those guys would have turned pro easily. So I think it's better that they're giving pro cards. It might be a little too much, but it's definitely giving the bodybuilder an easier time to get into the pro ranks. And let's face it, you still have to be a great bodybuilder. No schlump is winning the NPC Nationals or USA. It's not happening. And then no one's, you're not getting any weak guys, winning their weight class at the USA that, oh, that guy sucks. That doesn't happen. So guys that are turning pro today definitely deserve it. It's just easier to do it, and I think that there's nothing wrong with that.
Ty Jaws, do you have to lift, quote, heavy while dieting to, quote, preserve muscle mass, or is that a total myth that people say?
Yeah, well, if you lift heavy, you know, your whole off season, and you put on a certain amount of muscle, and then your diet comes along and you cut your weights in half, of course you're going to lose muscle. Your muscle only is there because of the stress being put on it to sustain that. So you should continue to lift as heavy as you can with good form without getting hurt. Okay? Now, if I usually bench press 405 and now 315 feels like it's 405 because I'm weaker, because I'm lighter, then that's fine, because your body still feels maximum, you know, force on your pec muscles. If you just decide, hey, you know what, I'm just going to do 225 for 15 reps for 3 sets or 4 sets because I don't want to get hurt and I'm going to bring in more definition. No, now you're going to lose muscle probably because you're not lifting as heavy. So there's no reason for your body to have that much muscle mass on it. So it's going to decrease the mass. So we don't want to lift lighter purposely, thinking that we're going to get more conditioned on stage. That's not going to happen.
Lubo Chuko, what's the best way to kick up the insulin after a workout? I use glucose and honey mixed with water and creatine post-workout. What do you think of that, and what would you suggest?
I like the high molecular weight carbohydrates that are on the market. There's several different kinds. I personally like the high weight amylopectins, which are the corn-based, you know, sometimes they call it waxy mazes. I think that they absorb really well. They don't bother people's stomachs. They are large size molecules. They really pull nutrients with them into the muscle cells with them without stomach distress, and they get absorbed really quickly. To me, those are the best ones out there for post-workout nutrition. Obviously, food is good too, but it takes a long time for food to get in. Sugar bloats your stomach. It doesn't really empty from the stomach that quickly, so we don't use those anymore. That's what I like. You know, when you start putting like honey and simple sugars, you get stomach distress from that. A lot of people do. These waxy maize, you know, like I said, amylopectin type, you know, high molecular weight carbs, it's like they just go right through you and they get right into the muscle cells. I'm telling you, if you haven't tried them, try them. Try my Carbolyze product. Do a scoop post-workout with, you know, a scoop or two of whey isolate. I'm telling you, you'll be like, oh my God, my stomach feels so good, and I feel like I have absorbed the food. I feel, you know, refueled. I used to go home, especially at the end of my career when they had the Targa was just coming around. I would do like, you know, 60 grams of protein, whey protein. I'd do 40 grams of like Vitargo, and I would take a nap, and when I'd wake up, I swear I felt like I hadn't even worked out. I felt restored completely.
We discussed this about 2 years ago, I want to say, whether or not there was room for another division on the men's side, and obviously then Classic Physique came about. About a year later, on Iron Debate, we discussed a rumor that I believe it was the 140-pound and under division. C-Fips wants to know, in your opinion, now that there is Classic Physique, there's Men's Physique, is there room, is there a need for another division on the men's side?
Nah, I mean, you got Classic. Classic is your other division. So, you know, if you want to really think about it, I mean, Classic is that other pro division that you would want for the lighter side guys. So if you have a guy that turns pro in the lightweight category at 154 pounds, because he's 5'4", he's the perfect Classic Physique weight already. He goes right into Classic Physique, and he's doing really well for himself. Breon Ansley was not going to be a great bodybuilder. Classic was invented, and that made his body. Same thing, Juliana Malacarne was never going to. She wasn't planning on doing bodybuilding. She was a figure competitor, but she was too big. You know, she was placing 15th, 16th place at these shows. They come out with women's physique, and she's the Olympia champ. So, you know, that's what it was made for, and that's in the men's end of things. Classic was made for the guys that are not, you know, huge, who can fit into that class because of their height.
We'll take one more question from Angel Presbania. What supplements are a must for better digestion other than fiber-lyzed digestive enzymes and probiotics? Any other supplements for optimal digestion?
You know, assuming you're not eating humongous meals and you're breaking up all your small meals throughout the day, you shouldn't have problems with digesting food. most people, 99% of people don't have digestive enzyme deficiencies, okay? So that's the main thing. You know, if you're eating small meals, you're gonna digest and assimilate them way better than if you're eating humongous big turkey dinners every once or twice a day. And that's really the bottom line. That's the key to digestion: small, frequent meals.
That's going to do it for this episode of Ask Dave. A reminder, later tonight, Steve Lorius, live with Steve Lorius tomorrow, Boston Lloyd on fatherhood, and then later on in the day, Iron Rage, Dave, John Romano, and Lee Priest. And then on Friday, live with Jordan Peters. You all asked, we delivered. Amino Evolve, $24.99, SBCnutrition.com. That deal is only good through Sunday night. For our producer, Tyler and Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.